Welcome to the T4TCS podcast and YouTube channel. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, and provide your feedback in terms of ideas and topics that you believe are related to T4TCS. We would like to take the time to let our viewers and listeners know that the information discussed here is not to be interpreted as a clinical approach to trauma and psychology. T4TCS was designed to provide insightful information on topics related to post-traumatic growth, finding solutions to somatic healing through a mind and body connection that works for you. It also serves as a platform for members from various communities to learn about positive effects of a trauma-informed approach to self-defense and martial arts training. And now, take the time to enjoy the show.
All right. So welcome back, everybody. Again, we're back from a little bit of a hiatus over the holidays. There's a lot going on, a lot of planning, a lot of training. One of the things that we wanted to talk about today on our pod here, we don't have Jacob here, so it's just Mark and I. Jacob's busy doing some of his other stuff prepping, but we wanted to chat about some really cool stuff that had actually happened recently. And quite honestly, the reviews were not something that I was expecting. I don't know, and I know Mark wasn't expecting it, but they started to pour in after a couple of the seminars that we did. But one of them, most recently, with the February 23rd Trauma Informed Awareness and Women's Self Defense Seminar. And then I want to start off with this review, like this quote from one of the ladies that showed up. And it's just a testament to the impact that what we had designed and what we came up with, how impactful it is. And although we like to teach in small numbers because it's more effective, I think it's much better. And I don't know, but that's my take on it. I don't know about yours, Mark.
I agree,
But
100%.
yeah. And so yeah, I just want to start off with and open up with this quote. So I'm going to use my phone. And this is from one of the ladies that joined the seminar on February 23rd. It says, I just finished a 4-hour trauma-informed awareness women's self-defense seminar with T4TCS. And to be completely honest, I didn't even know what I was walking into, but I knew I wanted to do this being a sexual assault survivor, growing up in a mentally abusive house, and being in mentally, physically abusive relationships. I carry so many mental health issues and triggers, etc. I was nervous about being vulnerable and even attempting to open up about what might come out. From the moment I was in class, the atmosphere and how they make you feel comfortable, right away I knew I was going to learn something great. Being taught this seminar by men is a huge healing process for me when it comes to male wounds inside myself. I highly recommend coming to this seminar and learning how to protect yourself on top of understanding what trauma does to your mind, body, and soul. It makes you feel like you are not alone and leave feeling confidence in yourself. I can't wait to take the next one and encourage women everywhere to fight through the fear of healing these kinds of things, no matter the amount of time that has passed or even if it's recent. They respect your space and your vulnerability and want to see you succeed in this seminar. This last one is really great. Avoiding healing your triggers isn't healing. Learning how to handle and protect yourself with them is life-changing. As a woman, this program is a must for anyone. Being aware before anything happens is half the battle. and I wish I had this as a teenager. I probably wouldn't have been in any of my situations. To say I'm grateful is an understatement. Can't wait to learn more. This is from one of our students or one of our clients, Amanda. And I mean, wow.
Yeah. I like to just one of the things that stood out to me the most was the fact that she said learning from males was huge for her healing. And in the industry, I know I've heard a lot of women say that they would rather learn self-defense from another female because they feel like they can relate more than being a female, and also that sometimes the tactics or techniques taught are not relatable to females because they're men doing them. Like
Yeah,
it's like a guy teaching something that a guy would do, and they're not understanding, you know, or looking at it from a lens of, a woman might not have the strength to, um, you know, meet her attacker's aggression, being a larger person
right.
potentially. So, and this was always something that I kept in mind. And before I started teaching women, I mean, this is how T4TCS was kind of born on the my part before I met up with Eric. Was that was the big question? Is like, okay, how do I help these women effectively? What can I give them? Because
Mm,
they don't all train. They're not all going to be ready for aggression. They're not all going to have coordination. They're not all going to be able to do this kind of stuff. What can I really give them from what I've learned that is actually going to be impactful and make sense? And that took me a long time, and I finally like composed it in 2019, and had a couple of then I did a corporate one, and I did one in the city, and but it was good, but it wasn't T4TCS because the component that Eric brings, and also having Jacob there for development, so but that was a big question for me. So when I heard that come out of her mouth organically, it was really, really like validating. It was really like, yes, that was the goal that I wanted to reach, was to make them feel like not only was she comfortable, not only did she feel like what she was learning was effective, but I never considered that it was actually going to help heal her. And
or
I thought,
start the process at the very
yeah,
least.
yeah, well, that's what I mean by her saying like it, like because now she's not going to have just one kind of you know um lens on a male energy or a male entity around her. She's gonna now have some references of like empowerment and supportive, and it was really good to hear because it was good to hear that we had that impact on her and that she was starting that process. But it also, selfishly, it was validating for me to know that we were doing, like, we were hitting those targets of what we wanted to actually achieve. So that was really good to hear that from her.
Yeah, I mean, it from my perspective, I have to say the same. It was just I was blown away. And it's one of those things where it's like, did we did we just get that validation of that that little bit of success? Like, did we hit the nail on the head sort of moment, right? That was the question I asked myself. Is like, is this what we were intending to do? And does this mean we got it? Like, is the recipe correct? And I know we're always going to refine what we do to make sure that it works and helps people succeed. But I guess what I'm trying to say for myself, and I'm not sure if I speak for you when I say it, but it was that moment, that defining moment of saying, all right, I think we're in the ballpark now.
Yeah.
Like our grouping's getting tighter on the target. And so this is the validation of what we're in the ballpark, and the groupings there. We're starting to make that difference. We made that impact. So let's work off of this
Mhm.
and move ahead. And not to say that the reviews that we got beforehand on the first one weren't great, because they were. Um, But
this is more personal for sure.
It was a much more personal review, 100%. And that thank you, Amanda, for sharing that. And it was just really impactful, like for me, right? As much as it's impactful and it helps her out and helps those that like our clients out, it really helped me out. It was, because it was also one of my first opportunities to actually be an instructor from the self-defense side of things. Because for those that don't know, that happened back in January, early February, roughly, I should say.
Already,
So
it's gone by fast.
it has. I started thinking about it. I'm like, when did that actually happen? And then I looked back at some of the texts, and yeah, it was around late January, early February when I finally got the level 1 combatives T4TCS combative self-defense certification. I can't remember what we called it, but yeah, went through the gauntlet, your well-designed gauntlet.
Yeah. So, you know, just because Eric, Jacob, and myself are, the co-owners of this, and we all share that same mission and passion. Um, I myself, I didn't give this to Eric. I made sure that he earned it. I made sure that he understood what is expected to be taught at this level, and the mechanics of it, the concepts of it, the flow of it, the principles of it, because it's so important. Because really, what Eric is learning is like the nucleus or the foundation of what everything else is going to tie into, and he knows what I'm talking about because he's starting to see it. It's so important to get this part down, because everything will find its way to it. And that being said, it'll be easier. It'll be easier later once you start putting these layers on, because there's a solid base. And so I made sure that Eric, not only could he language it, do it, he had to teach it to somebody, and then he had to pressure test it against a number of people that I picked. And I picked anywhere from, a big, tall, experienced martial artist to a second degree black belt in jiu-jitsu, to another black belt in jiu-jitsu, and we made him work for it. So it wasn't give it to him just because we're T4TCS. I want people to understand that he worked for it, just like we all work for it. And even when he didn't officially test for the ability to actually be signed off to teach it, everything that I've got going on in my head, and I want to bring to the table, and I ask these guys for their feedback, and more importantly for their energy. We test what we teach.
Yeah.
And we try to do it from a perception. And for any females listening to this, because of what I mentioned before, right? And this is why it was so important, is when we test this stuff, we're using all kinds of body size, including larger people. Most of my training partners are all larger than me, and that's for a reason. Because if I can do it, if I can perform something against people who are trying to prevent me from doing it, and I can do it because of leverage, technique, and competency, then I know that it can be used by others, because I'm not relying on strength. I also need to make it simple, and I also need to make it make sense. So we test everything, and we're very, very picky. And if we're not sure about something, it stays in our development. It doesn't go into our program yet. So, so yeah, like you said, things could be subject to change. Nothing stays the same forever. But I think we're pretty set on the core concepts and the principles that make what I've been starting from like a long time, and it's till this day with these people being refined. And not only that, it's like very cool to see when Eric's bringing his background and training into it. It's actually giving me more layers and to understand, what I was thinking, but I'm thinking at it from a different lens, from a different language, but I'm hearing him articulate it. It's the same message, but it sounds, I'll be honest with you, it just gives it a nice professional finish on it.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Right. So it's very good because I am rough around the edges, but I have value because of that. I have value because of my experience. Right. And to meet somebody with a different energy, but we're on that same wavelength. It's that yin to the yang, we're able to bring that and the professionalism and maybe a little bit of the rawness, and in hopes that it just benefits who we're giving it to. And so far, like I think Eric said, we're in the ballpark now, and we're excited to keep refining.
Yeah, absolutely. Like thanks for that too, Mark. And like Mark said, it wasn't like there was a lot of stuff that led up to that moment of you saying, of being given the opportunity to show what I had and to demonstrate my competency, so to speak, physically and mentally, with respect to being able to teach it. And to give some people a little bit of context in this is that about a year ago, actually, I'll back up a tiny bit. About 2 years ago, I decided, because I was trying to get my daughter into a martial art, and I wanted to impart that, have her experience the same thing that I experienced a little bit later in life in 1996. So I was just beginning high school. The value that martial arts can bring you in terms of being in the moment, helping you focus, giving you a sense of accomplishment and, fitness mentally and physically, but also helping get rid of the negative stuff. And so there was an agreement between me and my daughter. I just said, if you commit to this, I'm going to start again too, from scratch. I'm not going to take any other knowledge that I used to have and try and use that to leverage my position. I'm going to start over from scratch. And that's what I'm going to do. And so we did. And I I wanted to bring her into traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu, stand-up stuff. We started that a little bit. She wasn't a big fan of it. She didn't like the joint locks and the throws. At the time, she was 6, not even 6 at the time. But luckily, where we started, they had Shorin Ryu karate there. So something to start off with katas and stuff like that. So it still helped her focus. And she's been in it ever since. She stayed there. Around about a year ago now, coming up on it anyways, unexpectedly, I had a health scare, and it just came out of nowhere. Honestly, there was no signs or symptoms, nothing health wise that said to any of the doctors, even in tests, that I should have done anything differently. But I had a heart attack, and during that time, I still wanted to train, but I couldn't. And I couldn't do that style of jiu-jitsu because of the throws and stuff. And so Mark and I at the time, I said, yeah, you'd been my trainer for a few months at that point. And I was like, yeah, I can come train tonight, but we're not doing anything crazy. I've got a heart monitor on, and I can't do any strikes with my hand, because if I hit with my right hand, because the angiogram scar was still healing. So anything happens, I might bust open. It's just gonna be a big mess. Mark says, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We'll do something. We'll work it out. Well, don't we start working on knife defense stuff? Well, isn't that a way to get the heart rate up, right? So is that something that I had to explain to the cardiologist when I gave the heart monitor back? Yes, 100%. I had to explain, hey, this day, between this time and this time, you're going to notice what you might see as some abnormalities, right?
Before you scare future clients, it was in control.
It was in control, yes. But I'm saying it in jest, right? So, but what I found out there, and what made me want to continue, this is where I'm going, is that while knowing that there was this stuff going on, there's still an ability to adapt training. right? Just because we're a little bit off, a little bit injured, recovering from something, there's still a way to get your feet on the mat and absorb some knowledge and do some good for the mind and the body. And that, to me, from a trainer perspective, from a coaching perspective, is worth its weight in gold, right? So any student really that's thinking, I've got a sprained knee, I've got a sprained leg, or I've got a small injury, or I'm just not feeling it today. If you just do yourself the favor of just either talking or just show up just to watch. Even if you could just watch, just give yourself something. And I know we don't always have it sometimes, and some people, we just don't want to risk it, and that's fine. But that moment was a defining moment for me. And a few months, like maybe a month later, I think we were talking, and that's when you asked me what I did and my background. And then that's where we started to flow with the ideas. And so a year in the making, that's where, like, I recognize everything that we worked on from day one lead up to everything that you tested me on and how it all fit together. So for anybody who's watching this or listening to it from a potential client perspective, just know that the things that we do teach, it's a tiny little, like in the seminars, there's just, there's so much more to it than just that little chunk, but there's a reason for it. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I got to experience that about a month ago, and now we're here. Right. So I think that's extremely valuable, right? Being able to have a coach like Mark who could take what you're telling him and you're asking him to do and make it and turn it into something to meet you where you're at and then give you the value that you're looking for. That's why I share that story about, I was recovering from an angiogram of being in the hospital for 3 days and having a heart attack, and we still made it work. So that's pretty freaking cool. Right. Yeah. That's a win for me. And
how did you feel? How did you feel on the day of testing?
I honestly, and I don't want to give too much away because, when me and Jacob pressure test, when I get the message a morning that we're not supposed to train, hey, you guys want to come to the dojo and train? And we show up, you're always testing us, right? Jacob will be distracting me with a discussion or something like that, and you'll come up and you'll sneak up on me and, game on. So the day of testing, I got out of my truck and I was scanning every vehicle that was parked on the road. Like, do I recognize this car? Awesome. I looked across the street at the parking lot. I'm like, do I recognize any of those vehicles? I was scanning the walkway. I was scanning the front entrance of the church that's above. When I walked in, first thing I did was like peek around the little alcove that's there to make sure nobody was standing there. I said hello because I didn't see you right away. So I went into every bathroom. So I wasn't sure. I really wasn't sure. So that's how I felt before I walked in the door. But then it was very well structured. You went in and you actually just you said, no, I'm not going to do that to you. Here's what we're doing. Here's the explanation. Here's why we're doing it. Here are the scenarios. And here are the people that are helping you. And yes, they're people I know, but I also know what they're capable of. And it just wasn't easy. And that's all I could say. It started off being technique. And by the end, it was like, I'm trying, like if I did not do technique because of how tired I was, it just wasn't working. So that's a testament to the importance of structure, the mechanics, the leverage, proper body positioning, proper footing, and anchoring your body. All of that stuff is incredibly important because when you're tired, the adrenaline dump just not going to matter. It's not going to work. Further to that is the importance that we stress too in terms of, we have to condition ourselves. We have to have a regiment to improve our structural tolerance. Like we have to do conditioning training. We have to do strength training. We have to do stuff because guess what? It's not like it's, and I mean, I knew this before. We most martial artists know this. Well, the true ones anyways, is that you can't rely solely on the sensationalism that we see online.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
These McDojo style, I'm barely touching your wrist locks to throw people 10, 15 feet away. That stuff doesn't work. It truly doesn't. So you're going to be tested physically when a real attack happens in a real fight. And if you don't have the gas in the tank and you don't have the wherewithal to keep yourself regulated, it's not going to work out for you. So that's what I like about the style of training, the pressure testing that we do, is we go right to the bitter end till none of us can stand up anymore. So
Yeah, and and that's the thing. Like when you start to see that real fatigue kicking in, it's important to understand and recognize that, and then stop. Because after that, um, you're not giving yourself any really good training anymore, and that's when injuries can happen. Like your best performance is going to be within the first minute, maybe two if you got a good tank. But after that, anything after that, now you're just like, it's mental fortitude. It's you're relying on technique. You have to regulate everything like that. But once everything really is just like flopping around, it's time to stop, because there's different ways you can finish so that you're still pushing yourself. But as far as like, you know contesting one another, you have to be careful of that realistic threshold as well, because you want to be able to do it again the next day or a couple of days later. Because the more reps you do, the more effective you're going to be. It's not that you just want to go 100% all the time. Because if you're going 100% all the time, then you're going to run out of training partners and you're going to be too injured to show up the next day. And now you're going to lose all that training. So there's definitely that balance and just kind of recognizing when enough is enough for the day, for sure. But you want to get there, is what Eric's trying to say. We want to make sure we
yeah,
get to that so that we can actually have a real assessment of ourselves. Where was I at? And the other thing too is like, some days you're gonna perform well, and some days lack of sleep, busy at work, stuff on
yeah,
the mind, and that just goes to show you, like, when you leave your house, do you do a mental check before
yeah,
you leave today? There are days where I know that I'm not all there. I change my plans. I don't want to go anywhere that's heavily populated. There are times where I'm angry. I don't go out. Don't go
yeah,
out at all. Not a good idea, because I know I could get triggered. I know that I could have I don't know, somebody could cut me off and then turn into a road rage. Who knows? So it's
yeah.
like that mental check as well. If you're injured, they're a target. You could be a target now. You're not going to defend yourself the same way you think you can. So these are all things that people need to think about as well, right? It's not just that
Y-
I have this skill and I learned these things, and yeah, but we're human, and you're not yourself. You're not at full capacity every day, mentally or physically.
Yeah, and to your point, like, I mean, it's been a while since I was pushed that far. Um, but I mean, there's the growth is in that moment though, right? Like it's like all of the other thing. It's like muscle. It's like training to hypertrophy for bodybuilders. You're not going to get the growth if they don't tear the fibers and then get the rest afterwards. And it's the same thing with this stuff. If when we get to those moments, when we get to that point where we're going to be leveling up, as they say, and truly testing all of the things that we've been learning, if there's no stress to it, then it doesn't really count,
No.
right? It doesn't sink in. That neurological response, kind of like what Joey said when he was on the podcast with Kurt. Um, there's no such thing as muscle memory. It's that neurological response. It's
Yeah.
that automaticity or whatever he called it. And he can give me, if he's watching or listening, yes, you can message me in anger because I'm not saying it right. But really what it is it's the neurological response that we train ourselves to have. And so it was funny while I was going through it, I would have to say about 40 minutes into it, I was I was up here. Everything was up here. I was just telling myself, nope, this has been done before. This has been done before. You can do it. Just do a couple more. You've done this. You've got this. It's the same thing. It's the same thing you've done before. That's what was really going on in my head. Because my brain and knowing what I know, I was just like, no, these neurons are there. Like, find it, right? Find where this one fires. Get it done. Do it. And yeah, that's what got me through. And I remember way back in the day in other training that I've done, as we were being tested and put through the gauntlet, that's what they push you to. They push you to the point where it's like it's mental. It is all mental.
And how is it from your perspective? The contrast. How did you feel about when you had to actually mock teach it to somebody in front of me, trying to get to all those points?
I was nervous, and the reason I was nervous because I wanted to make sure that, first of all, make sure I touched the points, but touch them in an order that made sense. And I remember too that I missed a couple, and I sort of fumbled and I wanted to go back, but then I said to myself, no, I'll just keep going. But you made sure to touch on that when we were finished, right? But to me, I wanted to make it. At first, I was like, okay, what would Mark do? And like, how does he do it? And I'm trying to like replicate that. But then I was like, no, he's always emphasizing you got to have your own flavor, right? I'm going to give you this over time. I'm not just going to dump it on your plate, but I'm going to give you this stuff. You just put your own piece to it. And so once I realized that that's what I had to do, or that's what I was kind of flowing into, I felt better. I still questioned myself after, because you never know if you catch everything that you're going to want. And so the feedback was good, but I felt nervous. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and so it's funny because I got to watch you go through that, and then I had to watch you go through the physical part, and it's funny because through different type of testing, I still was able to witness these like peak moments in performance. And then like you spoke about now, like you were starting to get in your head about if you were going to hit on these things, and then you fumbled through it, and then there was kind of like a second guessing kind of energy to yourself, and then there was like the moment where you started to feel comfortable and you were being yourself, and then
I was just expressing my flavor. Yeah.
And that's what I wanted you to see, because I'm not testing you to be me. I'm testing you to teach the information, for Eric to teach the information. All you had to do is make sure that you're hitting these points, because that's what makes it it's going to be make it digestible for our people when they come, because we want to make sure we trim the fat and we make it professional, and we're all instructors are consistent with the information that we're sharing. However, the way that we transmit it is going to give our personality along with it. And so like I could see you were trying to like remember stuff, but once you started being just kind of like, but it always takes time, right? It always takes time to settle in, right?
Yeah.
And I knew that too. But yeah, it was nice to watch you start to that, because then I could see Eric doing it, right? And I was like, okay, cool, because this is what I need to see. And that was the cool thing about sitting back. I mean, I still share it at the seminar, but it was good to have you and Jacob take that role as well. And because now it's like, okay, you've put in the work, you did the training, you got signed off, because you're showing me that you can. It's not about how you articulate. I know you can articulate. It's like, just make sure you're hitting these points, and then the performance part with the physicality. But now I want to like, okay, great. Now how we gotta test it real time with clients.
Yeah.
And it was good and it was nice to watch. And it was nice to watch you and Eric, you and Jacob do that. And it was cool, right? Because now it's like, it was, felt like a team effort now.
It felt really cool because I got to, like, I felt off not being able to contribute the first time. I mean, I did with my part, but it was really cool. It was really good being able to be in there and helping out and impart that knowledge. I could see where instructors like yourself and others that really are doing it because they want to impart that knowledge on people, not because of the ego, but because they want to give back. I could see where that feeling comes from now, right?
Yeah, it's good. It's good, right?
Yeah.
'Cause at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to like. I just think what I want to take from traditional martial arts is a standard, right? I don't think you should standardize people. I think you should standardize. How do I say this? When you're sharing something to somebody, it has to be structured. Even for people who don't like structure, who like to be kind of like they're gonna do that anyway because that's their nature. But when
Yeah.
somebody needs to receive information, it needs to be coherent. It needs to be structured. It needs to make sense and have a flow. Because if it doesn't, you don't really grasp it the way that it should be. That's why things are done in progressions. That's why things are kind of like, you know, the best systems I've seen are built upon principles, and those principles are, you'll see the thread throughout.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps it from just, for me, the analogy I use is like it's the rock you tie the balloon to, because otherwise the balloon just floats away. Right?
Yeah.
You gotta have that thing that keeps it that thing. And you don't want to standardize, you don't want to keep people in the box, but everybody needs, that magnetic pull that keeps them grounded.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to, be yourself and experiment with it, but you still need to have it palatable. You have to have that kind of, this is what it is, right? And when I'm able to share that, when I feel rewarded when I put like over 20 years of martial arts training and I put something together, and then I share it with some people who have the same passion, and then I see them doing it, but they're not doing it like how I do it. They're doing it, but they're doing it from something that I've shared. It feels good for me. It feels good for me to honor my instructors, and it feels good for me that I'm going to give it to people who are going to grow it as well.
Yeah.
Because, as far as T4TCS, we want to keep it so that it is like there is a standard to it, but the standard does not have a ceiling. We can always change and grow, but not just for the sake of doing it, because it makes sense,
100%. Yeah.
because and so it's really cool to watch that and to come to life. And again, it's like it just lets us know we're going in that right direction.
Yeah. And it's like having that, it's almost having like a philosophical approach, right? Like just understand that, things change. We got to adapt to it, right? And people, our clients are going to change. The needs are going to change, right? But the principles and the foundation is there, right? They're all coming to us. Like I think, like you said, like people are now recognizing it. People are coming to us for that reason, and that's kind of what we wanted, and we're going to build on that now.
Well, it's in that kind of catchphrase that you made up. What is it? Agency.
Focus, agency, and regulation. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
like I've had really great instructors, and I've trained with like world class instructors, and I've trained with professional athletes, professional fighters, and each person at that level that's above you gives you the rub, or gives you kind of like, oh, that's the next step, and I've been blessed to be around a lot of good people, and I've learned so much over the years. And I literally have bookshelves full of like these books I buy with just random, half of it's Muay Thai, college, and just notes or ideas, and it's all been there documented, and it's whatever stayed in here. But I've never sat down and actually put my focus to like clean it up and make it like a presentation of it. And when I did that, and I'm working on stuff now, like with the bladed stuff and other stuff that T4T is going to have to offer, and it's just like I think it's a maturity thing, because it's kind of like now I've spent this time abroad, and I've seen this, and I've seen that, and I've felt this and that, and I've tried this and that, and now it's kind of I'm sitting down and codifying my approach or what my experiences have showed. And I'm just like, man, I wish I did this a long time ago. And for anybody who trains martial arts, keep notes.
Yeah.
Keep notes because they are a testament to your growth, to where you've been, where you're going. And I'm looking at stuff from like 2009, 2010, and being like, what? Why did I stop doing that? And it's really cool because it's like your life, your life journey training is just like scattered amongst all these pieces of paper, and now you can kind of like grab all your research now, and like it's almost like writing a thesis. You know, it's
Yep.
almost like it's kind of what it is for me, right? And so like that's what it's fun to now sit down as a more mature in the art and having come to the conclusions I've come to for now at this point, and really take that information and start to codify and refine and actually create something. I wouldn't say a system. It's not a system. I say it's, I don't know, what would you call it? It's more of like a approach or a methodology.
You can call it. Yeah, I wouldn't. A system is not a bad choice of words, but it's yeah, it's a mix of your methodology, your system, it. It's you, right? It's a combination of everything that you've done. You're now bringing it together. It's kind of like um, you know, I don't want to say it like I mean I do actually. It's kind of like what Bruce Lee sort of did, right? Where he had a base, he had his foundation, but then he went and explored,
Well, that's my inspiration, right?
right? Like he went and explored and he did his thing. But all of the books that I'm reading that either he's written or Kevin Seaman has written, and people that have met him have written or talked about, even after his passing, like they all recognized it wasn't really over. Like he was still working on all kinds of things. He was still wanting to explore and build everything. It's just what he was known for is what people understand him as,
Yeah.
but they didn't see what his intent was.
No, and that's one of the things I hate the most about the Jeet Kune Do community, because I believe half of the people that think they speak for him, I think would have been told to be quiet, and that they're missing the mark if he was alive. But really, it's just research and development, right? Research and development.
Well,
Immerse yourself in what you just keep the receipts and do the work, and that's it. Pretty simple, man. Just like it's like that's why I call my brand Jeet Kune Do Combative Sciences, because it's in the name, right? I'm at the core a JKD practitioner. That is my, if you talk about philosophy with regards to martial arts, Jeet Kune Do for me is the philosophy that I follow and that I believe in.
yeah.
Um, the type of martial arts I'm looking for in general, it is combative. It's not sport. It's combative, and I treat it like science because there is a science to it. You know, like boxing is called a sweet science. There's so much geometry and physics involved in everything, and anatomy, and it's just like it's not just cavemen swinging sticks. You know, there is a science to it. There is really a science to the human body, and not even the human body, but physiologically what's happening inside with chemicals,
Yeah.
which is, that to me was, I was aware of it, but now I'm learning more of it because of Eric. And so, the name suits it, and that's why I call it what I call it, because you really have to just immerse yourself in the work.
Yeah, and I think that's the cool thing is that you just made me think of like the culmination of everything. Like my original plan when I got back onto social media was just to impart the goodness or the science, the connection, the mind body connection, and how good it is when you're doing physical activity. It was to promote working out, to talk a little bit about martial arts, all this other stuff. So when I think of like I actually went back and looked at my first post back on IG, and then look at where it is now, and I'm like, well, crap, this is cool. And so when we decided to go from my tagline, train for trauma, to just add train for trauma combative sciences, it also makes sense because everything that we're doing from what we want to teach, we're doing the research and development, not just with the self-defense and the combative sides of things and the pressure testing, we're also combining that with the physiological responses, the mental health side of things, the traumatic trigger responses, the neurological retraining and reframing that occurs during all of this. And so it truly is a science. And when I'm reading now, and I finished a couple of those the books there from Bruce Lee, and I'm like, and when you said it too, like he's truly ahead of his game. And I'm thinking about what we're doing and what you do, what you brought to the table, and I'm like, yeah, this is it. It really is a science because the learning never stopped. I bought some attachments, the Wing Chun attachments for my bag, and I truly then appreciated how humbling those things are. But also, when you're playing around on it, I started actually thinking to myself, this doesn't make sense. Why am I doing this when I can just do this? Right? And this is based off of what you've taught me. And then I just slow myself down and take a moment to just think about it. I'm like, it doesn't make sense for me to come in like this and put my hand here. It's just going to get in the way. And so you start working on stuff and you're truly in the moment, which is like the focus part of our focus agency and regulation, like
Yeah.
slowing down and taking a moment. Right. So,
And that's kind of like the goal, right? Is like actually we just recently did I was actually the day before the women's self-defense that we did, myself and my instructor Joey
yeah.
Combat from Combat Arts, we held a knife defense seminar, and we're actually holding another one because it was so well received. But one of the females there, um, she actually had to use what we taught her in real life, and she works. I think she works with some mental patients, and one of them was self-harming themselves, and they were calling security, and security wasn't. They were not getting there fast enough, and at that moment, she seen that there was a real threat to that individual, and she made a decision, and she was able to execute 2-on-1 Russian tie and use it to secure her, step back, and use it to bring her down and secure her until security arrived. And she said something. She said, let me just pull it up real quick, actually, because I don't, it was so important on how she said it. I want to make sure I get it right because it was, she gave me she gave me a long version, which was quite the read, but she gave me a condensed version. Um, and basically, it was to the effect that that's why I took self-defense class, which provided to be invaluable. In a recent incident, a patient became aggressive towards themselves and me, but thanks to the hands-on training, I was able to confidently and decisively use the 2-on-1 technique to immobilize their arm. And with my coworkers' help, we safely secured them. What made the difference was understanding the underlying concepts, not just memorizing moves. The training gave me the clarity and the confidence to respond effectively in a critical moment. I highly recommend it to anyone in similar roles. It's not just for self-defense, but about gaining the confidence and clarity needed to stay safe and effective in a high-pressure situation. So for me, the thing that stood out the most was it wasn't just about memorizing moves,
Yeah.
and that is huge because and I've even been trying to translate this over to like the Muay Thai program I run. Is basically making them understand there's going to be the cue, whether it be visual, auditorial, or tactile. Once you have that cue, your next step is the decision making, and the decision making is going to be your training. Am I going to do this versus that? And then lastly, it's the execution of that decision making. Was it the right
Yeah.
one, and how effectively was it done? And in a self-defense scenario, the decision making very much always comes down to the three main things that we discussed in T4TCS. So the way that I'm sure people have taught 2-on-1s before and have explained the structure. But what she was saying what I'm getting from this is because of the way we explained to her the reasons, the why, the how, the when, that to her made it more understandable of, you know, why she acted the way she did. She was able to justify why that decision at that time was the correct one, and that's why hence it worked, because it was the right tool for the right job. And I think that's an important thing, and that's the kind of stuff we're trying to leave when we do these seminars is um, not just here's this move. We're really coming at it with some depth,
Yeah.
and we're trying to make bells ring inside people.
Yeah, and it truly worked. And I mean, even the one you did in Clarington Martial Arts, the feedback for that one was the same.
Yeah, well,
It went really well. And yeah, it goes to show the type, how it's delivered matters, right?
I think so.
How it's trained during that time frame matters. And then okay, now that you know this piece, let's test it out. Let's bring the heat. Let's turn up the pressure a little bit, right? So that's what codifies it. That's what rewires the neurons in the brain. That's where you get not the muscle memory, but the mind and body connection and the recognition of, this is where I got to pull that information from to be able to react. Now it's a matter of, how fast can I get these neurons to respond, and then my body to react, but based on that. So
I think what's going to be a common thing for T4TCS training is that's going to set us apart is when some people go to a self-defense seminar or workshop and they do techniques, they're just shown it, they drill it, and then they're going to go home and try it on somebody. And of course, number one thing, if I tell you I'm going to try this on you, you're not prepared. It's not going to work out for me as well, right? But and then it goes wrong, and they lose confidence in it. Whereas when we're teaching it, we're going to make you fail. We're going to make you fail with it, because it's not about here's the technique. It's like, here's the principles, here's the objective, let's go. And then we'll help you work it when you're struggling. But you're learning in real time to adapt to pressure. You're learning real time how to make it work. That is the key, because when you're attacked, we cannot tell you what time of the day it is, where it's going to be, how you feel that day, what are you wearing, are you equipped to defend yourself that day, how big your attack. We can't tell you that. We can tell you these are the things you need to work towards. Here's your checkpoints.
Yeah, and I
These
can't
are
throw the perfect
no,
straight jab punch at you every single time for you to codify that response in your
but
body.
if you understand what you need to fight to get to,
That's correct.
then you can do it, because it's simple to think of objective versus technique. And once you build the confidence of that, actually it was tested on the mats before you went home. Now, if you go home to that person and you want to show them what you learned and they give you a hard time, that's how you learned it. So you're going to adapt. And that's the difference, I think, that we're doing.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a few more differences, but we're not going to reveal those trade secrets.
No.
Come to the seminar.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, when is your next Blade seminar? You guys are doing another one.
So yes, I have like I said, there was a lot of people that wanted to attend the first one that couldn't make it due to scheduling. And also some people, there's already people who have purchased a ticket, who have registered, who already took the first one, just because they want to go through it again because they just found value in it. So that one is happening on April 5th at Combat Arts in Mississauga, I believe at 1 to 4 p.m. as well. And then I believe we have another women's self-defense that we're going to do. We're going to aim for maybe end of May.
End of May, yeah. So we want to help. What we're thinking about doing, and this is what we talked about, is that we've had the 2 module 1 pieces coming together, and so we're looking to expand upon that at the end of May and bring some people back if they're interested, and then welcome some new clients as well if we can.
Yeah.
So
So for any ladies who are watching this, um, who were waiting for it, we would like to welcome anybody who did any prior ones to come to our module 2.
yeah,
It's going to be way more physical, but it's also going to be a great way to reinforce what we learned in module 1. And for anybody out there who's looking to do module 1, stay tuned for us to kind of schedule that out when that's going to happen. So I'd like to do another module 1 as well, just for new people coming.
yeah,
And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. We're hoping and planning that this summer, hopefully in August. I know some of the ladies that took the knife defense were told about T4TCS, who weren't aware of it, and what our approach is with that. And I know that there are already a handful of people who are looking forward to us coming there. So I'm in talks with Joey, and hopefully T4TCS will have a women's self-defense at Combat Arts. What that's going to look like, I don't know, because like we mentioned earlier, myself and Eric, we kind of like the small numbers. I don't know how big we want to go because the space can hold it.
yeah,
So that'll be a weird. I just don't want to test it there. I'd rather. We'll have to see how that goes, but I'm excited about doing that and offering that in the Mississauga area.
for sure. I mean, we can tailor. We've kind of refined what we're looking for and what we're doing with respect to module 1, right? So I think we could tailor it to a little bit larger of a group, but yeah, no, I'm excited for that. I know we're talking midsummer, sometime in the summer. So I'm excited for that one too. But you got a stick fighting one coming up with
Yeah,
Rene. Well, right?
yeah. Actually, this weekend I'm in Chris Marceau's Warrior Retreat in
Yep.
North Bay. I'll be teaching 3 sessions there, and then the weekend after the knife defense with Sifu Joey, I'll be doing a stick seminar with Rene Cocolo, aka Growling Dog. That's going to be more of a stick fighting, stick like in the sports context. Fighting. Rene is going to be showing some fighting tactics for clinch and closing distance, and I believe I'm going to be covering some of the submission ground stuff. Although I will put this out there, um, anybody who's in like armed guard or anything, or uses baton, you might find some use for this. As far as like if pulling your baton and your attacker still aggresses you and you end up on the ground, you can't be hitting them in the head with it. And you don't want to necessarily throw your weapon away or have them use it. There could be some good alternatives for you. I'll just say that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's a huge honor. That Rene is another guy who I've trained with and I respect immensely as a martial artist, and just as a person, I love him. He's like me, but older and grumpier. And you know,
Shit.
yeah, he's a good guy, man. And I see a lot of myself in him, and like I like how he's a straight shooter. Let's just put it that way. He's
Yeah.
a no nonsense kind of guy, and so I'm looking forward to that. And that'll be at the new location that we'll be moving into. And then Joy and I will be doing another knife defense also in May. This one will be focused on the ground and up against the wall and confined spaces. That'll be another good one. That's kind of like a little bit more advanced than what we've been showing. Not advances in like techniques, but advances like the scenario and the threat level that you're looking at in those kinds of realms. And yeah, other than that, I think that's all that's going on right now. But yeah, it's been a lot of stuff. It's been a lot of good stuff. You've leveled up. We've got the cadets as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So on March, this is a fun. Yeah, this was actually a neat request. A friend of mine, Matt Slade. I worked with him at when I was at the CN Rail, um, and he's a cadet. He's actually just got promoted. Also, he's a training officer with 598 Saber Squadron with the cadets. at the Air Cadets in Coburg, and he's been reaching out to me for a little while, actually, asking. He's like, would you be interested in talking to cadets about mental health and stuff like that? And I said, sure. Just set up the time. It just turns out now that we're going to do a bit of both. So on March 20th, we're heading out there during their parade night. We're going to do an intro to like the mental health side of things, but I pitched it to them and the training cadre about doing some self-defense stuff with them, and they're in. So we're going to finish off their parade night, showing them some of the self-defense skills that we teach. So we're tailoring it to the crowd, and I think they'll love it, man. I really do.
It's going to be great. And I'm also really looking forward to you representing T4TCS out in Edmonton.
Yes, that was a huge one. That one, we just did a podcast with them 2 weeks ago. That was our special edition. So yeah, that's May 7th. It'll be at what's time is mine at 10:45 their time on May 7th. So the cool thing about that one is that I get to see some people that I actually know from my past too. So one of the other guys too, he's a retired CSIS officer, 30 something years in intelligence work, between CSIS, so the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and CSE, which is the Canadian Security Establishment. And that is basically Canada's version of the NSA. So between the two, he worked 32 years in Intel, and him and I linked up. I think we met each other back in oh gosh, it's been almost 10 years now since I've known him. So I've talked to him in Ottawa and different settings. And so I found out that he's actually going to be there. So he's speaking just before I am the same day.
Very cool.
So it's super cool to see where all of this is going and how it's progressed. And what I'm going to be speaking about is trauma-informed approaches in a community setting, but more importantly, the trauma-informed approach and the mindset when it comes to a law enforcement objective and perspective. So that is going to be, I think that's going to be really cool, and I'm super grateful to be part of that. So yeah, we got a lot going on, and I'm starting my clinical hypnotherapy studies just after on the 22nd of this month. So
yeah, I don't know if I like that.
It's going to be hey man, it's what, from where we're going, it's going to help our guys out too.
Yeah,
Right?
no,
One of the things that actually was thinking about too, really interesting, and maybe we'll wrap it up too. We'll leave it here because we don't want to give too much away and overwhelm anybody. But I was listening to one of the Humor Bin podcasts today, and one of the ones that I was listening to, they were talking about, how they do sports psychology with athletes and fighters and stuff like that, and they try to get a specific mindset. And the really cool thing is what this guy mentioned, the special guest. He said that what bugs him the most when he's looking at his clients and listening to his clients do pre-game interviews is when the interviewer comes to them and asks certain questions like, you got a lot riding on this and so on and so forth. How do you think you're going to perform? He's like, you just undid 6 hours or 12 hours or 3 days of work that I tried to do with the client. Because as much as they say they're focused, you just got in their head somehow.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I really want to get out of where I'm going with the clinical hypnotherapy side of things is, first, I want to take my trauma background and use that and help people out on the trauma side. But what I also want to do, and you and I have talked about it before, is also really help hone in the people that we're training with. And whether it gets to the point where we can have some people that are going to be at a higher level, help them understand themselves before and after.
Yep.
And the letdown phase after the fact, right? So that we can always have that understanding of human performance. And I think that's going to have a lot of value, right? So I'm super excited about what's going on. We've got a lot of stuff happening. We might have missed some stuff here. I'm not sure, but we'll cover it. We'll put hyperlinks in both the podcasts as well as the YouTube channel. Plus also the blogs. Like, pay attention to the blogs on our website.
They're great. And just to the viewer to know, like, we're gonna try to avoid these like long hiatuses. I like when we do the podcast where we're all together. I think
Yeah.
that's still something we're gonna aim for. But if we're getting busy because we're growing and we've got a lot of good stuff going on between all three of us, and that's awesome. So if that starts to play a factor in the ability of us all being present in the same location, I think we'll supplement by doing this just to kind of keep consistency and have the people, whoever are deciding to listen to us and follow along
Yep.
with us in our journey, that we want to keep in touch with you because we appreciate everybody who sees what we see and the value in this, and who's coming along for the ride.
100%. And then also, I want to publicly say this on the forum is thank you so much, Mark, as well, and Jacob, for you guys introducing me to an even bigger family. It's been a few months now since I've been able to consistently go monthly and train with the fine folks at Combat, and I love it. So anybody listening that's from that training facility, from that family out there, if they feel like they can contribute and have a discussion on our podcast too, feel free, let us know, and let's have a discussion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.